Hey, this is Michael S. Seaver. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my great friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I got my guy here from the Mitten, Michigan, Michael S. Seaver. Started kind of in the hospitality business and just knew he needed to level up and help others, and he started to do it on his own. So he has this awesome coaching program company. You're going to love this interview. I have pages of notes talking to Michael. I couldn't write fast enough. So I was actually kind of stumbling over my words, asking him questions because I was still writing while asking. So just sit back, relax, break out your notebooks, because here comes my really good friend, Michael S. Seaver. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got my boy from the Mitten. And my subscribers, know out there that we're from the Mitten, which is Michigan, and it's kind of like we can talk a little smack about Michigan, but nobody else can. So this is my homeboy. He relocated out to the left coast, and he's enjoying that warm weather year-round, kind of like I did here in South Florida, but we will always have roots in the Mitten. And I'm so blessed to bring on my good friend, Michael Seaver. He's learned that he's valued authenticity, growth, spirituality, wellness, and power, and how important each one is to him. His areas of expertise include executive leadership, personal branding, change management, organizational effectiveness, employee engagement, and emotional intelligence. He's a graduate and former director of career management alumni services at Thunderbird School of Global Management and director of sourcing talent acquisition for Banner Health Managing Department, budget of more than $1 million. And Seaver, Michael, thank you for coming on the show. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color? And why?
My favorite color is blue.
All right. Why is that, my man?
Because the psychology of color is so interesting to me. Like, I like to figure out, like, what do they all mean? Yes. But blue means trustworthiness. It means competence. Yes. It means integrity.
Yes.
It means the capacity to be able to, like, be resilient and persistent through something. So blue has been a staple for me for a long time.
And it's in your color wheel, my handsome friend. You can rock it. That's what everyone says. Wear blue. But no, I'm the for real, man. So let's get a little bit into the origins. It seemed like you did a lot of soul seeking, soul searching, for lack of a better term, up to and now where you leveled up to where you are now. If we can start there, a little origins, brother.
Yeah. So, both you and I being from the Mitten, right? There's something about, that environment or that place. And I was raised there. I used to cut grass and shovel dirt for a living from age 12 until 24. The family's landscaping and lawn maintenance business. That's what I did. So that was my thing. So then in 2004, I moved to Metro Phoenix and started working in the hospitality industry. And so if you've ever been to a Four Seasons, I can deliver the finest in Four Seasons experience because I got to work there for a number of years. Nice. It was awesome. But after doing that for about 4 years, I went to the Thunderbird School of Global Management, which you just referenced. And that was a tremendous experience because I learned to speak Mandarin Chinese. I got to travel across the world, probably not as much as you and the stuff that you've done, Scott, but that trip, those trips really, really helped me. And then went to Banner Health and did some talent sourcing work there in HR, which gave me some good context about what it means to work inside of a corporation. But then in late 2011, I just got so fed up with making everybody else a bunch of money that I decided to start my own business and make my own money, right? So for the last 10 years, executive coaching, team training, doing lots of public presentations, writing books. It has been a wild ride, but I've loved every minute of it.
You said 4 seasons, and I've stayed at a few. I've been blessed to be able to stay a few. I mean, it's like, man, they asked me questions even before I stayed there. Like, what do you like to drink? What is this, and this? So by the time I got there, my mini fridge or whatever it is, it was stocked. Everything was it. It was so you took that experience of that, we'll just say the hospitality management, and you rolled it over. You can't have a better background, really, to start what you're doing, right?
Oh my gosh. So you are so spot on, Scott, in that when you work at a place like the Ritz or the Four Seasons or one of those higher end brands, it's all about anticipating what the guest needs. That's the game. And so whenever we knew that one of our guests would be going to some sort of an event, maybe they were playing a round of golf or they were going to go watch some sort of a theatrical performance, we could forecast about what time they would be coming back to their room. So we would always have something waiting in the room for them upon their arrival when they were done. And so for me today as a coach or as, working as a consultant, I'm always trying to think 3, 4, 5 steps ahead to be able to forecast what it is that someone might need so I can get them to the end goal faster.
That you just parlayed that right into my question, man. So I really appreciate that. So when you're going through a discovery period, when you're bringing clients in, what is your kind of secret sauce? I think you might just answer. Would you, if you don't mind sharing some of your secret sauce and helping them find their blind spots?
Yeah. So for me, I try to turn the clock back a little bit. So there's a guy named Dr. Bruce Lipton. And so he studies brain waves. And so maybe you've talked about him before on one of your previous episodes, but when I thought about how is it that from birth until age 6, everything that we're learning subconsciously kind of gets baked, right? Everything we see in the environment gets baked into our subconscious. Right. And then we think about and we just basically repeat those things day after day after day when we're in a different brainwave state. So when I really started to think about how could I be a great coach, how could I be a great consultant, how could I be somebody that really unlocks potential, like really meaningfully, I wanted to go back to the basics to when we were kids and think about what is it that we learned at that time in our life that we unknowingly, subconsciously repeat in a way that doesn't genuinely help us. Right. And so when I started to figure that out, I was able to get to the point of change inside my clients or my organizations faster.
You know, it's funny you say that because, you know, a lot of the things that you're baked in, I mean, it's literally, Lipton will tell you that it's literally carved into your brain waves. Like literally, we might call it subconscious and conscious, but it's literally carved in, kind of like Shad Helmsteller said in What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, that parents, you know, say no to their children 135,000 times by the time they're 13. You know what I'm saying? So that is what you're kind of talking about, how that's really carved in, right? Yep. So what is some of the stuff that you might do to help uncarve that, if you will, and then because we know that the conscious is the gatekeeper of the subconscious. So what are you doing really to do those reps, brother?
Yeah, thank you. So subconscious processes 400 billion bits of information per second, but the conscious mind processes 2,000 per second, right? Think about the difference of that. And so what I'm doing is there's a number of things, right? But what we really want to make sure that we're doing is coming back to the basics of the person recognizing what it was that they learned from their environment when they were from birth until age 6. So they have to talk to family, they have to talk to friends, they have to do some reflection, like whatever that is. We got to go back and recognize what it is that they were taught via their parents then. Then we can start to figure out a way to identify patterns in their behavior today. And sometimes I would do that through a gratitude journal, or sometimes I would do that through a pain journal, right? Having them recognize those moments they feel sad or mad. And then inside those patterns is where we can get to a really distinct place,
dude,
of being able to change behavior.
Hell yes, man. You're digging in from a place of service and you're making them do the work. You're kind of like, you know, I hate to use Belichick, but, you know, I mean, he did put some good teams on the field, but didn't play the game. Like, right. You know what I'm saying? It's like you guide, you're a coach more than a consultant, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? You're letting them play. They're letting them get on the field, but you're giving them the playbook in a sense by saying, here's a pain journal, here's a gratitude journal, and getting it done. That's awesome, Michael. So when you're starting to work with somebody, and we're still kind of in the discovery period, is there any good question that you wish that they would ask you but never do?
I think one of the things that they are not yet conditioned, right? Society conditions us away from this. Yes. But what I think about a lot, or what I would hope that people would ask me more about, is our core values. And you referenced it a minute ago, Scott, around me being really tied into authenticity. That's my number one core value. But very few people that I work with, whether organizations or one-to-one with an entrepreneur or a leader, very few people are able to connect their behavior today to their top 5 or 6 core values. And so I wish people would ask me more questions about the uncovering of their own core values.
Yes. And be able to find that blind spot, the stuff that they've been pulling from their past into to their now, that's really not letting them level up. That's awesome, man. Yeah. So what do you think makes a great coach then?
Great coaching is all about, I think, 2 things, right? There's a lot of things, but it comes down to like 2 things for me. And number 1 is that a coach cannot let his or her own biases like interact with or bring any harm to the actual coachee or the protege, right? So we have to make sure that we show up really objectively, number 1. And that means our biases, our thought patterns, all of those things can't show up, right? We're not meant to be mentors or counselors or consultants. We're meant to be coaches. So number 2 is that a coach asks really deep and really insightful questions. And they almost always start with how, what, or why. And if, as a coach, you remove your own bias, but then you ask phenomenal how, what, or why questions, Now, all of a sudden, you're putting that person in a place to be able to express themselves safely.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's how I run my coaching side. And that's just like me and you are just cut from the same. It must be the mitten thing, man.
It is.
So if I'm at a networking event, which here in South Florida, we're able to do, they'll press some flesh and meet some people masked up, of course, at least until March 11th. But if I'm talking to somebody either virtually or in person, Michael, like what kind of things are they saying? I would say, boom, it'd be a great person to introduce to Michael as a prospect client or a connection.
Yeah. So it really for me is that if a person is at a point of disengagement, unhappiness, there's something going wrong at work that they're just not in tune with, or that they feel that they're not living their core values each day, or something about the interaction where they can't maybe express their own mission, right? They're not able to express themselves in that way. And so if those things are happening, or if I'm seeing the patterns in that person, but there's also this desire to genuinely evolve and change, like they're at that precipice point of wanting to change and level up, that's where I can really step in, or my book or my processes or my online courses, any of that stuff can jump in and be able to help them in a meaningful way.
Awesome. And we will definitely make that warm introduction to you, squad, if you want to meet Michael. I can't wait to send some of you his way, because I know a lot of you, including myself, kind of need it as well. So, Michael, are you familiar with the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Okay, so let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the 22-year-old Mr. Hospitality, guy.
Yep.
What kind of knowledge nuggets, we call him here at Time to Shine today, what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on Michael to maybe help him level up, last through, and shorten that learning curve a little bit?
Man, oh man. Oh my gosh. Michael at age 22, 23 was attempting to conquer the world in the way that I think my parents were going about attempting to conquer the world. And so I was constantly taking action, and I was constantly trying to achieve things. And if 40-year-old, because I'm 40 years old today, if I could turn back the clock to that young, right?
Birthday.
So, well, my birthday's March 18th, so it's coming up pretty close, but nice. 40 today. Okay. And when I turn back the clock 18 or 19 years, I think about, I was constantly trying to take action, and I was constantly trying to achieve what someone else said was the path in life. And so if I could go back to that version of Michael and say, slow down, take a breath, go to the beach and hang out by the water for a bit, and get really in tune with yourself, because this constant action and activity is actually only going to bring you pain. And so like my first wife left me. I got fired from a couple of jobs.
I'm laughing at that, but you're hitting everything.
So when my wife left me and the jobs I got fired by, it was because I was attempting to live out someone else's versions of my life. And so I want to be able to go back to that younger version of myself and say, slow down and do the right things that are in alignment with your mission, your core values, your strengths, what makes you authentically you. That's where the game is.
That's awesome. So you just said it, that you kind of pulled forward how you were, lack of a better term, raised. And you really would tell them slow down. Would he have listened?
At that time? No.
No, neither.
There's like
I always say that. At least you're honest, man. So how do you want Michael's dash remembered then? That little line between your incarnation date and your expiration date, life date and death date. How do you want Michael's dash remembered?
So for me, it really does come down to, people are going to remember me for basically authenticity. Right? They're going to know me as the guy that can tell stories, or has the right process, or has the right resource that can help them get to the point of really understanding what I call their Earth School curriculum. And so I think that all souls, or all humans, come to Earth to learn something specifically. So I want people to remember me through whatever means are available as society goes through its transformations. I want people to know me as that. If you go to Michael S. Seaver, you'll be able to learn what makes you authentically you. You'll know your life's mission. You'll know your core values. You know your Earth School curriculum, if you will. And if that happens, I would be incredibly happy.
You're planting trees, bro. You're never going to sit in the shade of. You know what I'm saying? That's freaking amazing, man. Appreciate you doing that. Yeah. So what keeps Michael up at night?
The thing that bothers me, I think most nights, is that there's that part of me that's still kind of connected back to the 22-year-old version, which is, I have to constantly take action in order to be valued, appreciated, or successful. Yes. And so the thing that keeps me up at night is still wanting to do that, not as much as I used to in my early 20s, but I'm still trying to find a way to be happier with less. And that's hard, right?
Yeah,
is that society tells us that more money and more success and more influence and all that stuff is appropriate. And in some cases, for some people, it is. But each of us has a different curriculum. And my curriculum is about kind of shedding that old mindset and welcoming in a slower pace of life. So if I could figure that out or do that, that would be huge.
Do you do breath work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. I was hoping you were going to say you do, because that's my staple. I mean, you can live 3 weeks without food. You can live a week without water, but breath, like maybe 3 minutes. It's like, I do that. And I'm really getting into this kind of breathing to where I'm hitting the pelvic floor now. And it's amazing. That's really did a lot to change my life. I had to ask that because it just seems I'm getting that vibe that you do. So what do you think people misunderstand the most about Michael?
And so my partner, Tiffany, who we've been together about 1.5 years today, she says that the image that I'm able to project out into the community as being a very astute, a very clear, a very pronounced, a very strengths-based kind of like coach or person, that when I'm at home, I'm actually very relaxed, very funny, very easygoing. And for some reason, I haven't been able to bring that necessarily out into the workplace yet.
Yeah.
And so that's work that I'm still trying to do.
It's not that hard. I'm not trying to coach you up, man, but I went back to a movie called Van Wilder. I don't know if you remember. It was with Ryan Reynolds. It's actually one of the funnier National Lampoon movies. And there's a line in it that I live by. It says, "Don't take life too seriously. You'll never make it out alive." And it's like, dude, that's how I live. Even if I'm representing a client on a big real estate deal or something like that, then I'm on point. But other than that, dude, I'm 6'1", I'm 265. I'm the biggest goof that you ever freaking meet. And that's where I really pulled that forward, is I take nothing seriously, unless it's detrimental to the family or obviously your bank account too. But I appreciate you being transparent with that. Thank you. So what is Michael's definition of a life well lived?
I think for me, as I go through the next 80 years, I think I got another 80 years on earth somehow.
There you go, baby.
A life well lived for me is going to be okay with going at a slower pace, or accepting life's challenges as they come without needing to control them, or genuinely doing things every day that gift me energy, right? Like when you talk to Bob Berg on episode 200, right? It was very much about this idea that the more that we can give to other people coming from a place of true love and care for ourselves and for them, right? Then all of a sudden we're in this environment where there's an ecosystem of people. And so I want to be at a good place for myself that I can uplift others. And then this entire ecosystem rises, if you will.
Dude. Yeah. And that receptivity, if you're open to it, man, it might not be monetary, but like I tell the story, man, my goddaughter really never calls me. I love her. But when she does, it's usually Poppy for something, but dude, I help somebody out. And I was expecting nothing back just because that's the type of person they are. I love them. Yeah. But Kelsey called me. And it was just like, dude, that's that open to receptivity. My goddaughter called me, and it was just like, it was the best ever. That's fantastic, man. Cool. I appreciate that. All right, time to shine today. Podcast Varsity Squad. We are back with my good friend, Michael Seaver. You can find him at michaelsseaver.com, and all that will be in the show notes. But right now, we're going to level up with Michael into our lightning round. Michael, listen, you and I could talk an hour, 2 hours on each one of these, because you and I are like kindred, bro. So, but you got 5 seconds with no explanation. Okay. You ready to rock?
Let's do this.
Let's do it. So what's the best leveling up advice Michael's ever received?
Everyone you interact with is a mirror of and for you.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm taking notes, dude. I'm awesome. So share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
I do. You like yoga? I like 20 minutes of meditation as soon as I wake up.
Love it, man. I do it. I do the breathing. That's more of my meditation. I do kind of a Wim Hof or Troy Casey breathing. I love it.
Right on.
So other than your own website, michaelsseaver.com, and of course, timetoshinetoday.com, my plug, shameless. Is there any website do you go to kind of level up, Michael?
So I'm a member of the Forbes Coaches Council.
Nice.
And so there are many other Forbes councils. And so for anybody looking for great information from people like Scott or I, one of the Forbes councils is undoubtedly going to have great insights.
Love it. So I'm not feeling it, man. You notice my energy. You're like, Fergie, read this book. I'm in my doldrums. Read this book. What is it?
For me, the book that really changed how I view my life was Loyalty to Your Soul by Ron and Mary Hulnick.
Yep. Yes. It's a fantastic read. It's little well known. It should be a lot more well known. That's for sure,
Agreed.
Man. So what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Probably the hug emoji.
The huggy. I love it. So, and don't lie to me. So you obviously listened to Berg's interview, but like, don't lie to me on this one. Like, what age physically would you stay for the rest of your life if you could still keep the knowledge you've gained and garner more. What age physically? And don't lie, Michael. What is it?
I mean, I'm 40 and I feel the best I've ever felt.
Yeah, I say 32 just because it's a lot easier for me to get out of bed. I'm going to be 50, and it's kind of like, I would just take that 28 to 32 physically, but 40 if you look like you do, and that's awesome. I'll let you slide on that. So, what is your favorite charity and organization like to give your time or money to?
Right on. Big Brothers Big Sisters of, and where in my case, Central Arizona.
I love it. And I used to do that in the east side of Michigan there. And I love it. And I still write that check every year, and it's the best thing I can do. Yeah. Last question. You can elaborate a little bit. What's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Listen, I'm a child of the 1980s. So you get me an 80s rock or metal band, and I'm yours.
Bro, that whole decade. I always say 80s too. And I was born in 72, so I was able to kind of like see that the 80s, and it's like, man, they had everything. I mean, you had the origins of rap, you had like you said, metal, and you had the glam rock, with Poison and whatnot. You had all the other hair bands, Big Hair Don't Care kind of stuff, and then you had the U2 Irish Invasion. You had Duran Duran with the English or Australian invasion. It's like, dude, everything happened in the 80s. It was the best decade to be alive
ever.
It was amazing. I got my driver's license. I'm sure they didn't like it, but and I graduated in 1990. So like that whole 80s was my jam. So Michael, how can we find you, brother?
You said it a couple of times already, Scott. MichaelSSeaver.com is the best place. You can learn a lot about online courses or the book that I just published called I Know. I have a bunch of blogs. I have my own podcast. And so lots of good information there for sure.
I love it. And we're going to put all of that in the show notes. I'm going to drop this in Michael's subconscious. I want to come on a show. Anyways, it's my shameless plug, baby. So, Michael, leave us with one last knowledge nugget you want us to take with us, internalize, and take action on.
The thing, I think that the theme of my conversation, somewhat unknowingly, but it has been really powerful, has been be the person you needed when you were younger. And that to me is so profound in so many ways, in that each of us in our younger years has some sort of a challenge that we endure. Around age 27, 28, 29, we overcome the challenge. And then the highest and best use of our life for the next 20 years, from like age 30 to 50, is to help other people overcome that same challenge that we had for themselves. So be the person.
Be that person. It's like mentoring, right? In a sense. I mean, like my mentor used to say, the more you mentor, the more immortal you become. So that's just amazing, Michael. I really appreciate you sharing that. And squad, you've just gotten like a legit masterclass with my good friend from the Mitten, Michael Seaver from MichaelSSeaver.com. He is all about kind of staying steps ahead, but he does it in a way of care, and he wants to like anticipate, but not give you the answers. He's really asking those powerful questions to pull you forward. He wants you to kind of beginning with recognize what you learn from your birth to age 6, identify those patterns, either through a pain journal or a gratitude journal. And Michael can really, really, help you with that. You ask your coach, if you're going to hire one, which we hope it's Michael with his authenticity, but ask their coach about their core values, what really means to them. And a great coach does not let, like the busyness show up. They'll ask powerful, deep questions, the how, what, and why. He's disengaged, unhappily, core values. If you're feeling that way, disengaged, unhappy, and your core values are just out of whack, let us make a warm introduction into Michael. They help you evolve and change into what that better person that you really know is underneath those layers. He would tell himself to slow down when he was younger. And like we say, that we pull from the great coach, John Wooden, be quick, but don't hurry. Really be ready. And that means just be mindful. And Michael's going to be remembered for this authenticity, and his life well lived is it's okay to live at that slower pace and do the things and the gifts that give you energy. And this one just rocked my world. And it's going to go into my quotes of my life, is be the person you needed when you were younger, man. Be that mentor for somebody, whether you're making money or not. You can give a little. And Michael's so humble, yet he's hungry. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's so transparent. We appreciate that. You've earned your time to shine today, Varsity Squad letter. And thank you so much, brother. So grateful.
Thank you.
Talk soon, Michael. Bye now. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.